Operation Block. This is what the KGB of the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic named the wave of repressions against the Ukrainian intelligentsia, a class of people including teachers, academics, writers, artists, and journalists. The repressions were the largest in the second half of the 20th century. From January 12 through 14, 1972, 19 Ukrainian dissidents were arrested in Kiev and Lviv. Among them were famous writers and poets who sounded alarm on the politics of destroying Ukrainian culture.
The arrests in the beginning of January weren't randomly carried out. Many representatives of the 6 years who were preparing to greet carolers on the Old New Year. This was just another way to attack Ukrainians' national and cultural initiatives. The arrests were carried out secretly. People were taken at the end of their working day. It was all top secret.
These days spelled the beginning of the so-called general pogrom of the Ukrainian 60ers, a class of intelligentsia born under Stalin and who entered politics in the 1960s and who held anti-totalitarian views. Over the course of 1972, about 100 Ukrainians were arrested for political reasons. By 1974, this number of political prisoners reached to almost 200.
Almost 100 Ukrainian dissidents wound up in the camps. They received significant sentences. As a rule, they got 7 years in a corrective labor camp and 5 years of exile. But even in the conditions of the gulags, Ukrainian dissidents fought for their rights. It was because of Vyacheslav Chornovil that the Day of Ukrainian Political Prisoners was celebrated since 1975, after he gave the idea to do so.
23 years after the collapse of the Soviet Union, understanding of the word political prisoner has once again become relevant. Russia continues to occupy Ukrainian territory, and a wave of repressions against those who disagree with this has surged. Since 2014, over 70 Ukrainians have been sent to Russian and Crimean prisons. Ukrainian director Oleg Sentsov was declared to be a terrorist. Taxi driver Andriy Zakhtey, a saboteur. Historian Stanislav Klich, a murderer of innocent Chechen civilians. In reality, they were just thrown behind bars because of their pro-Ukrainian positions. Crimean Hennady Afanasyev is one of few Ukrainian political prisoners who was released from the Kremlin's grasp. Russian special forces arrested him in Simferopol in May of 2014. Using torture, Hennady was forced to plead guilty to terrorist acts, along with Alexei Chernem, Alexander Kolchenko, and Oleg Sentsov.
When the Russians came to Crimea to excuse their invasion, they said that there were tons of Nazis and Benderites and fascists. They spread their propaganda like they always do. But when they came, they found no one. Ukrainian tanks never came rolling in, and there were no people with fascist flags. They had to create an enemy.
Afanasyev was illegally sentenced to 7 years in a penal colony. Having spent many long months in a detention center, undergone torture, farcical court sessions, and prison time, the man learned how the Russian repression machine works from the inside.
They take people before anyone knows what's going on or where they are. Then they beat them. They shock people, threaten them with rape, choke them, inject various drugs into them, shame them, beating the guilty pleas from them. Then they take them, like they did with me, to an FSB detention center, where you are completely cut off from the world. There are no telephones and no letters. Everything is blocked. They keep you under psychological pressure, trying to prove that everyone has forgotten about you.
Since getting his freedom back, Hennady Afanasyev has traveled around the world speaking about the animalistic methods Russia uses against political prisoners. Hennady believes that only through international pressure can Ukrainians be freed from the Kremlin's prisons. Reported by Yulia Kryuchkova and Serhiy Savchuk, UATV.